when? Perhaps the ultimate goal with meditation is to embody a kind of meditative state our whole lives. So perhaps the answer to when is all the time. But if we can't do it all the time, then we probably want to practice at a time which is the most reliable, so that we will practice meditation the largest amount we can, really, with a little bit of quantity there, and also the most consistently that we can, and probably at a time with the least amount of obstacles. Most reliable, most consistent, least amount of obstacles. That's going to ensure we're approaching a very meditative and transformed life. Acknowledging that, there's kind of two different ideas people will normally adopt when they're trying to implement more meditation into their life. The first idea would be that perhaps now's not a good time to meditate if we've got a lot of noise and distractions going on in our life. Perhaps if we've got a lot of noise and distractions going on in our life, it would be best to make the movements to rearrange the structures of our life in which we can become confident that we're going to be able to start a reliable meditation routine. On the flip side of this, there's another argument, which is that part of the practice of meditation is realizing equanimity regardless of the circumstances around us. So really, we should be heavily committed to a certain session or section of time in our day to meditate, where regardless of what's going on, we practice, because foreseeably life may always be complicated, hopefully not. So when to practice? Whenever will result in more practice. So now I'll just go through some options progressing throughout the day. Morning, great time to practice. Very reliable. You have every morning very clearly set out, and there will always be the least amount of obstacles. If you do it first thing, or if you wake up a little bit earlier, then nothing can really get in the way. It's seemingly much easier to get caught up into the momentum of distractions when you're trying to manage so many other things throughout the body of your day. And then in that morning, you can do it before breakfast, you can do it as soon as you wake up. So a lot of people like the morning, and it makes a lot of sense. If you have a routine already established for your mornings, like some people do a lot of morning exercise, I personally recommend doing it after the exercise, because you're sort of moving around all your energy, you're getting very focused in exercise. You'll kind of wake yourself up and orient yourself. Normally after coming down from intensive movement, there's a natural relaxing, and that natural relaxing can make coming into sitting down for meditation, it might be conducive for meditating. Moving along further in the day, you could just do small moments. As I say, we're trying to meditate as much we can in some regards, so just little mindful breaths or 1 to 2 minute meditations throughout the day. That's probably what's going to be most available for people who are still living very much in the conceptual and usual work life family world. So 1 to 2 minutes, that's probably more achievable than finding more significant amounts of time to break away from your daily life. Perhaps if you have a break at work, you could do 5 minutes there. But I think for a lot of people, that'll be quite challenging. That would be quite a challenging use of your time. So maybe you scatter in some of those. Other than that, we could have dedicated times throughout the body of our day. You could decide that after lunch or something like this, you'll sit for 10 or 20 minutes. That could be quite convenient for some people to do, especially if you make it part of your daily routine. If it's too hard to commit to that every day, you could just do, I'm going to do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Anything is better than nothing. And the other really useful structure we can use in these modern worlds to help us meditate would be joining up to groups. There's normally a lot of evening classes that exist around if you look it up, or try and find some happening from 5 p.m. into the late hours of the evening. Again, if that's scheduled into your week, then you know it's going to happen. That's a good time to meditate. Then our final other option is before we go to bed in the evening. Our mornings are normally very much about us, very structured. There's not a lot of the outside world coming in to take us away. Same thing with evenings, we're tuning off light, going to sleep. So we'll probably have quite a amount of space there for us to find some time to meditate. It's just as good meditating in the night. Like I say, you can actually meditate all the time and whilst through into sleeping too. So I think everyone would really benefit for some sleep meditation or meditating before sleep. Great time to do it. Very reliable, less obstacles, can be very consistent because your evenings and mornings probably look the same. Great time to meditate. I will meditate in the morning because that will set me up. It will set my mindfulness or meditative intention for the rest of the day. It's like the saying, a stitch in time can save nine. If I start my morning present and aware, it might fall apart in an hour or a few hours, but I've got more chance if I start the day with that intention. That's how I want my days to be, so I start like that. Then throughout the day, I'll try and find little moments when I can. Maybe the momentum of the conceptual world out there and all these noises get in the way, but I'll just try and find some moments or recenter if I need to. If it gets too distracting, I'll deliberately take a moment to make some space. I'll normally have a dedicated time in there too, so that I know that I'm just increasing the amount of practice I'm doing each day, probably around the midday. I've also found that's like a beautiful reset to the day if things have gotten hectic. I can take a moment, become mindful, and then we're back on the right path. It really gives me new life for the rest of the day. And then I'll practice in the evening as well, before I go to sleep or as I'm going to sleep. And I love that practice too, because it's like, it's just setting in the intention. There's such mindful, conscious moments in the morning and at night. And I feel like I'm aligning my life on the trajectory or path I want to be going, which is a more mindful, present, compassionate, loving way of being in the world. And the alternative is that usually when I wake up or I go to sleep, if I'm not doing that through meditation, I'm doing it in chaos, right? Like my mind's just, I'm not taking anything in, there's nothing meaningful happening, or I'm just distracted thinking about tomorrow, pinpointing my days, and all those moments by arriving with compassion, meaning and presence. Oh, every moment, it's just a wonderful moment. I'm really interested in what other people do. Sometimes I'll do more intensive practices, but that's my general routine. And, it changes. I'm not committed to specific times. Because like I say, the more the merrier. Best wishes, my friend. May we all come to know wonderful ways of being and be fortunate to find abundant opportunities and spaces to align to our purposes for meditating and to meditate. Thank you.
If Sonam has helped you, please consider supporting for the benefit of others. Establishing a base engagement is the biggest hurdle for new ideas.